Joining us now, former Republican governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson. Governor, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you, Shannon. It is always good to be with you.
Okay, so Governor, you have said there's no point in running unless you're going straight at former President Trump. You right now, though, in the polling are at 1% or less in all the recent polls. So you know going after him is like walking into a buzzsaw. Why are you doing it?
Well, because it's important. What America does not want is another repeat of 2020 where we have Joe Biden and Donald Trump running against each other. That's reflected in the polls, certainly on the Democrat side. And so we don't want to repeat that. It takes alternatives. I've got a great record of consistent conservatism as Arkansas governor, experience at the federal level. And while I come from a small state, it's a successful conservative state that has a booming economy, lower taxes. And so I'm running because I think that we need alternatives and we need new leadership, a new direction in America.
Okay, we'll dig into some of those policy issues in just a second. But first, let me ask you this. President Trump has taken a lot of heat for hemming and hawing on whether he would pledge to actually support whomever the GOP nominee ends up being. Will you support the nominee if it's him?
Well, you know, we've negotiated with the Republican National Committee on the terms of the debate. I expect to be on the debate stage. I don't prefer party loyalty oaths, but it's important to have the competition. I want to participate in the debate, so I'll see exactly what that pledge is, but I expect to be on the debate stage.
Okay, we will see you there. All right, you could be facing also on that debate stage Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. You've been critical about, as have others, him getting involved as a conservative in direct corporate affairs and business, as he has with Disney there in Florida. But here's how he explained his position and what went on there.
Well, in reality, Disney was enjoying unprecedented privileges and subsidies. They controlled their own government in Central Florida. They were exempt from laws that virtually everybody else had to follow. That's not free enterprise, but it's certainly even worse when a company takes all those privileges that have been bestowed over many, many decades and uses that to wage war on state policy regarding families and children.
So agree or disagree when a company has some of those special statuses within a state and then uses them to fight those state political battles, that it's fair to engage with them on that front?
Well, I don't believe whether you're on the left or the right of the political spectrum that government should not be telling business what they can and cannot do in terms of speech. And however you describe it, it appears to me that the governor did not like what Disney was doing in terms of what they were saying and exercising speech, so they're being punished. Now, you know, those special privileges go to many different businesses in Florida. I let the legislature handle that, but I think it is important that we make sure that we don't become heavy-handed in government to punish those that are creating jobs for Americans and creating income and growing the private sector. That's not what republicanism is about. It's not what a conservative is about. And so those are fine distinctions. But it is important, though, that we talk about freedom and the free enterprise system. And that's what I've supported through my career, and not government telling business what they can and cannot do.
Do you agree then with President Trump that Ron DeSantis is getting it wrong on Disney?
I think he's getting it wrong on Disney. I think Disney got it wrong on themselves to begin with. I don't agree how Disney has handled things, but you don't use the heavy hand of government to punish a business. And so, yes, I think that's wrong, and I think that's indicating of motivation to go after business because you disagree with their policies or what they're saying. The left does that. I don't want the right or conservatives to do that either.
Okay, let's talk about abortion. You signed what became one of the strictest abortion laws in the country, basically very few exceptions except for the risk of the life of the mother. You've said in recent days that you think as we get into 24, this is going to be less of a hot button issue, but you know in polling and election results, it has really motivated the left. Are you being overly optimistic about how you think it's going to play out in 24? And what now happens to women in Arkansas who do wind up with an unplanned pregnancy?
Well, I think it will obviously be an issue in 2024, but after the Dodd's decision, I expect it to level out, and I don't think it'll be quite as hot of a button issue in the coming election. People are going to vote their conviction. They want to know what the candidates to believe in. And I think it's important that we restrict abortions to save the lives of the unborn. I do think there has to be reasonable exceptions, such as the life of the mother, and in cases of rape and incest. I think there's broad agreement in America on that. And we also have to make sure that we provide for the maternal care. We have to do better in our childbirth care and adoption services. And so that's what we've done in Arkansas, is investing in those, as well as we have placed restrictions on abortion and limited that. It's up to the states to determine that right now. I think there'll be continued debate about whether we need a national standard, and that will depend really upon whether you have a divided government, whether you have the Democrats take control or Republicans take control. And then you're going to have two choices. Are you going to lift all the restrictions on abortion, or are you going to place reasonable restrictions that will save the lives of the unborn? And that's the Republican, and that's my position.
So, yeah, let's talk about that idea of a federal ban, because you have mentioned that mostly this should be about the state level at this point. And Susan B. Anthony, a pro-life group, says that's essentially not really a pro-life position. They say this: saying the issue should be decided at the states is an endorsement of abortion up until the moment of birth. Even brutal late-term abortions in states like California, Illinois, New York, and New Jersey. They're calling for a 15-week minimum. If you did have both houses of Congress and were President Hutchinson, would you sign it?
The answer is I've always signed pro-life bills, and a pro-life bill comes to me that sets reasonable restrictions, but also has the appropriate exceptions. Yes, I would sign it. I would prefer that this is an issue that's resolved by the states, because that's what the pro-life community fought for 40 years in reversing Roe versus Wade. But what's evident to me is that the Democrats are going to push for a national standard that overrules the states, that allows broad abortion access up until the time of birth. The Democrats are going to push for that, and so obviously there's going to be more pressure on the Republican side and on the life side to put in those reasonable restrictions. And so I would support that if those restrictions are in place, and that if we can have a national standard to help save the lives of the unborn.